Thank you. Next, we have the final panel discussion for the day. I'd like to invite the moderator and the panelists, please. The moderator is Mr. Michalis, Michaloliakos, Head of ICT Cybersecurity at TMS Group. The theme is going to be Beyond Firewalls, Safeguarding the Digital Future of Shipping.
So much. Thank you, Anthony, for the kind invitation. We all, I think, agree that cybersecurity is not about firewalls or technology only or agents on board. It's more about strategy, governance, regulation, dependencies in the supply chain, people, of course, and the focus on cutting-edge technologies like, for example, AI. And in order to achieve all this, we need also to change our culture, create a more collective mindset. And to all this, I'm deeply honored that we all be guided by a panel, I think that they're superstars, by a panel that have deep expertise in maritime, in technology, in regulation, and legal. So the floor is yours to introduce yourselves.
Good morning. Thank you for being here and having all this great audience in our panel. My name is Kostas Grivas. I'm the Information Security Officer of the Angelicoussis Group.
Hello, everyone. I have already introduced myself, so I guess you know, so not to lose time.
That was an interesting presentation, Christiana. I liked
Thank
it
you
very much, though in general I hate lawyers. Anyway, I'm Stelios Sabanis.
Thank you.
I'm leading the ICT of Gaslog and 3 pillars, the IT service delivery, the digital transformation initiatives, and the cybersecurity. Also, I was honored by my friends in the IT of the maritime industry to serve as president of Amitech for 4 years. So thank you very much for that.
Stelios, before going to Michalis, back in 2017, 18, I think, the company, the owner, told me that, you know, we're going to make an expansion on LNG and I want to lead the department and create a team. So I was in my 30s, 33 back then. It was very difficult to lead an LNG company. So my first thought is, you should do it like Stelios. So haven't met back then, but I tried to do whatever you did in Gaslog back then. So thank you for that. You have mentored many people in the maritime industry. And I think that maybe I have grown enough in order to be on the same panel with you after so many years.
Wow.
Michalis, thank you very much for...
This is very nice what you said. Bravo. Humble.
Thank you for repeating my mistakes.
So good day to all. Thank you to CSN and glad to be in a panel like this. Vrettos from the RINA Classification Society, Open Innovation Director focusing on emerging technologies. Thanks.
Hello from me as well. Pleased to be here and thank you CSN for the invitation. My name is Pavlos Gerardos. I'm the IT infrastructure and the cybersecurity officer for Thenamaris, currently managing approximately 90 vessels in all of types, tankers, dry bulkers, and LNG LPG. And it's a real pleasure being in this panel, which it gives me great pleasure, the fact that we've been talking about, all of the esteemed colleagues are people that we have close collaboration and coordination during our day-to-day operations. So it was really a pleasure meeting all of them today.
Thank you very much, Pavlos. Starting with regulation and starting with the shipping owners and managers, with Pavlos. We know that we have new regulation in IS2, we have UR 26, 27, and many regulations that are coming. How significant is the inclusion or exclusion for an industry, for maritime, in major cybersecurity regulation, and what does that mean for their broader impact? Meaning that how your organization approaching compliance and actually implementation in practice beyond compliance.
So whether we like it or not, everybody knows that the shipping industry is heavily regulated. That has been always the standard. It's just that now we're shifting towards regulation also on the digital sphere, which means that several things that used to be quite, let's say, easy to implement now need to have further considerations, further, study before proceeding. Now, with that being said, the most prominent, let's say, changes, the cybersecurity landscape for the industry started initially around 2016. So we're talking about a decade right now, but in terms of guidelines, best practice, and all this kind of stuff. Fast forward to 2025, and now we're talking about the unified requirements, E26 and E27, and of course the NIS2 directive for the European Union. I won't delve into details because we've discussed about it so many times. The most interesting part, at least from my perspective, is the fact that it's the first time in Greece and in Europe in general that we're talking about specific legislation in terms of cybersecurity. We're talking about legislation first and foremost for the critical infrastructure, but nevertheless, we're talking about specific laws that dictate what needs to be done properly for companies to have an established baseline, the absolute, at least minimum of what needs to be done. We're talking about specific hierarchy, specific roles, specific job descriptions, and people have responsibility in terms to ensure that their organizations are cyber secure.
And I think that cybersecurity is a matter of responsibility at the end.
Yeah.
Always. Stelios, what's your approach?
Well, yes, the maritime industry is highly regulated. NIS2 is only European, so it is a problem by itself. It's not global. And NIS2 can act as a beacon that can cast our ways towards better governance. Complementing to NIS2, we have the Ajax requirements, which can act as a compass. I'm using metaphors for two navigational tools. And navigational tools are very good as long as you know where to go. If you don't know where to go, they're useless. So we have two tools at hand, which for us, it's an opportunity. Use them well. NIS2, at least for Greece, for this year and the next year, it will be primarily focused on the public sector. They will start with that, and then it will be expanded to other industries as well. I'm looking forward because both these two regulations will help us to build stronger cybersecurity resilience into our systems.
Thank you. Kostas?
Well, despite the fact that the maritime industry is a regulated sector, from the stakeholders, there weren't many actions toward the digital transformation. We've seen ships and the companies investing and adopting digital systems for many years, but there were no guidance, there were no guidelines how to proceed with this journey. Any regulation is a benefit to the industry because even though, as in every industry, even though we know what we need, we know what to expect, we know what the risks are, because we're talking about risks, nobody is taking serious actions unless there is something that forces them to follow some regulations. So having these regulations is a benefit. It's, as the previous colleague said, it's a matter of resilience, a matter of risk management, it's a matter of assessment, and it will give us many, many tools in hand to move in this journey. When I started, especially with the vessel security many years ago, one of the managing directors then at the company I was, he told me that this is not our responsibility. Cybersecurity on board the vessel is not our responsibility. It should be the maker's responsibility. Yes, he was correct. No, that was not the case. because if anything had happened on a vessel, the company was to blame. Now, having, at least for the vessel side, with the IEX regulations, we have a better controlled environment. We have accountability divided in many, many different stakeholders, and that will make things easier.
And Mike, what have you seen from the maritime operators? Which are the gaps? And if you see, what is the expectation from the classes on board?
First, I want to say that I like the fact that all of you see it as a positive thing to have regulations for cybersecurity. Yet I would like to stress that when the regulations are not done properly in the right way, the right, targeting the right, let's say, topics, can have a counter effect or many counter effects. And I would give us an example, ISPS. In ISPS, there was a mention about vulnerabilities in computers, and ISPS goes back to 2004. So even though there was something, an idea, a notion about doing something for cybersecurity or for networks, was never really implemented. So this goes to show, at least from my perspective, that even though regulation existed or there was an idea, if not done properly, if not done with guidance, interaction with the stakeholders that are to be involved, it's not going to bring the effect, the positive change. I hope that this is starting to changing now. It changed with the IMO MC 428, if I remember correctly, including the cyber risk management, the inclusion of risk to the SMS. Slightly general, but at least a step in the right direction. And now with the URs. URs are in good direction, but they're far from perfect. So there are steps to be done, and I believe that interaction, happy to interact. I leave it here, but I believe this interaction between the stakeholders will be beneficial to improve those regulations.
From my perspective, I think that always in cybersecurity we need to be advised by a legal. Many times the communication is not proper, but at least we need to make it right. Christiana, you connect these two words,
yes.
Legal and ICT and cybersecurity.
Yes. So yes.
So shipping operates across multiple jurisdictions with different cybersecurity obligations, and many times we have cross-border regulatory requirements
yes.
to resolve all conflicts.
Yes.
How ways to do that?
Different jurisdictions. First of all, allow me to say that I believe that a good lawyer is a lawyer who closes deals. A bad lawyer is a lawyer who breaks deals. So I'm a good one. I believe I'm a good one. So having said this, as I said before, I wear many hats. So that allowed me to not think only as a lawyer. And this is very important in this area. So the issue is to how you balance things. Traditional lawyers, I come across them every day, they overcomplicate the issues of jurisdiction. There are a few things that we could do in relation to simplifying what we believe is so complicated. So I don't see this as a so complicated thing. You ask me how to manage. First of all, I want to ask people, are there indeed so many different cybersecurity laws out there? I have to say that I'm a funded EU expert for cybersecurity, so they fund me to make research. So I had to visit all of these cybersecurity laws globally. And I would say that with regard to this matter, cybersecurity, I don't see so many different laws in different jurisdictions with different provisions. Therefore, how can we approach this to, as you ask me, how to manage? For me, it's simple. What you have to do is to, first of all, create a regulatory mapping per cluster. So you do the clustering exercise. Clusters like function role, and then of the function role, you need to decide on the geography, like which countries, which jurisdiction. After you have done this mapping, then you take the cybersecurity laws and then you arrange them per cluster that you've created before. So having done so, you will see that now you've got a map. You've got a map to navigate. Then you need to meet internally with the responsible people and the board, and you need to take one very important decision. Which one standard, which encompasses regulation, law, guidance, which one standard, as you see your map, which one should be the one to follow? Which should be the highest standard? You need to choose the highest one. And then after you choose the highest one, you need to implement that one globally. Implement that one globally. And you will say, but what if I go to this jurisdiction and that jurisdiction? You will then have to make the following simple exercise. Just check that one jurisdiction. If it forces you to deviate from your high standard, do it. If it forces you to add some local requirements, do it again.
Very structured approach for a lawyer.
Yeah.
Actually, say yes or no while in a phone call.
Exactly.
So, thank you
Following
so much.
that, the last thing I should just say very quickly, because you're here and I want to see this happening, in your companies, is to revisit, after you have done the exercise, revisit your contracts. Your contracts are the most powerful tool you have, and you don't know it. So you have to revisit your contracts, and you have to add cyber security provisions, focus on that. So decide allocation of risk in relation to these cyber provisions, cyber security provisions that you integrate in your contract.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So there have been many investments, either ashore or on board. But do we feel secure? Do we feel that this is enough? Or we need to do more things, especially in supply chain dependency? What we should do as a next step with the vendors, with the service providers, with the classes, with the third parties that are remotely connecting to our vessels on board on a daily basis?
Well, first of all, you can never be secure. Period. Having that in mind, the next step is each individual organization must assess the environment under which it operates, assess the threats that he has to address, and then very focused, invest on this. If you try to cover everything, you will end up in a very complex, expensive, and unmanaged platform, and yet you will not be secure. So, do your homework, see what are your actual risks and dangers you face and the vulnerabilities you have. Of course, you must have any emerging technology in mind, because this is an endless journey, it's a dynamic environment, and you have to adapt each time to what it matters more. Don't overexpend. Don't make a budget that's too much to support.
So this is a continuous improvement process, actually.
Always.
At the end of the day. Stelios?
Well, Michali, if you paid attention to some of the presentations today, you got answers to your question. The maritime industry is a big network of different stakeholders which participate during the process. And ship owners, operators, charterers, vendors, etc., etc. In order to feel safe and secure, you need to build trust. But all these stakeholders are not friends, okay? It's a business relationship, so you cannot achieve this kind of trust unless you have the appropriate tools. We mentioned some of the tools before, but also we mentioned, Christiana mentioned also, and paid a lot of attention to that, to the clauses in the charter parties on the contracts. So I think that we need to see the cybersecurity not only from a technical point of view, but also from a business perspective, and how to handle, and if I say manage, all stakeholders of this process.
Very, very interesting. Pablo?
I will agree with the colleagues. The issue with supply chain is becoming more and more prominent, exactly because of the fact of the digitalization and the global reach and the needs of the shipping industry. But it ranges from single ship chandlers sending an email to corporations, to corporate contracts from hundreds of millions of dollars or euros, you know. So you've got a broad range of risks. At the end of the day, it's all about technical, operational, and I mean, we're talking about people, processes, and technology. So all of them together must be mixed in order to achieve what Kostas already stated, adequate security. Okay, that's the target. It's never going to be 100% secure, but we need to provide adequate security. And by that, I mean that even from the smallest, let's say, third-party supplier who just sends an email which has been hacked, to a multi-million corporation with which we have service provisioning, it's not the same thing. At first, we need to tackle the thing with some technical measures. As we're talking about greater, let's say, more risk, inherent risk in terms of service provisioning with larger vendors, continuous communication, this kind of stuff, then yes, I will agree, as Christiana already stated, that contracts are the primary tool. You need to establish standard baselines. You need to establish clear wording about what you expect. And, you know, apart from that, you need to understand the implications, really the implications about what might happen.
Thank you, Pablo. Mike, from your perspective, regulation perspective, what kind of gaps do you see in the maritime ecosystem in general?
At least for new builds, I believe the new URs are going in the right direction. In the sense that at least they got nailed the three main, let's say, phases in the new building activities. So you've got requirements for the suppliers, and then different requirements in different stages after the design for building of the vessel, and certain expectations from the, for the shipyard, and then another set of documents for owners or operating companies. So this one, I believe you got it right. Now, whether you got the details below this, you know, what exactly should the supplier, or what exactly is the role of the shipyard, or what's the end state, how the documents should be. This is not ideal, this is not perfect, but at least we've got the framework. And I believe URE 26 and 27, they tried to touch this, which I saw as a big gap in maritime industry. But this doesn't really touch the law side of it. Touches things, you know, like the full supply chain. But something that you have, yes. I would urge you when you are involved in new building activities to really push the vendors to give you the documentation that you expect to have, and now at least you have a tool for this.
Yes.
But I don't know what's Christiana.
Now we need to call Christiana again to provide us a solution. So we have vessel designs, we have technology integration, but what you have seen in terms of, you know, cyber and legal vulnerabilities in this structure, and what we need to do in order to address them?
This is not an easy question, you know. I mean, identifying. I mean, different vessels have different issues, different companies have different issues, but in general, as I said before, dealing in the ISO, International Standardization Organization, and we do get to have labs. And they are ports and ship owners and ship companies. They come up with a solution, and then what they do is they submit the case so that we will be able to visit the case. And what we see is that usually we get to see old networks, old system, flat or poor networks. I mean, I've heard someone before saying that we cannot change everything, and we cannot afford, like, change everything. But again, I mean, we get to see, like, even the basics in many cases are not done. Let me share with you a basic. Passwords. You never change them. You do? Marinismo? You do? Okay. You see?
If it's a good one.
So maybe it's only you, Marinimo. Maybe it's only you. Legacy operational systems, and you know that, and it's true.
This is true.
Yeah.
This is true, and it is beyond our control.
But you know, Christiana, this also, it's a matter of people. It's not only a matter of technology. And you know, due to significant changes, digital transformation, I think that people is a basic element of cybersecurity. And what we need to do,
you get the OMs and you don't connect them properly. You get the systems, and the systems do not have the same requirements. Sometimes they do not interoperate, and you have gaps there also. There's another issue we see.
In terms of legacy systems.
Yes.
But if we approach
But not only legacy systems, because we get to have new OMs.
Yeah.
We get to have new. So they do it, they keep doing it. And if Marinis want to say something about this, I'm open.
Yeah. But I would like to stick on the people, because many vulnerabilities are related with this kind of factor. You are working in big organizations. What are you doing in order to transform them? Because cybersecurity, as you all stated, is a journey.
You mean transform the makers?
Transform the people that are utilizing the system, either the makers, either the people in your organization, the people on board that are changing quarterly.
At least for the makers, I'm not very sure how we can make them or enforce them to do better. When you there's one very specific trick. When you contract for a vessel with a shipyard, the shipyard has specific collaboration and cooperations. If you want to move beyond this and bring your own, then you raise the cost, which most of the companies try to avoid. So and because many of the companies depend on specific shipyards or a small group of shipyards, then you're attached to the vendors that the shipyards are working with. If they have cyber maturity, then you may be in a good road. If they're not, then you have to take the risks. And that's mostly a business decision. For your employees, for the person, for the third parties you are working with, you have and you must try to have them follow the policies that you have developed, if you have policies, as much as possible. They do understand. I believe that everybody can understand what that means, cybersecurity means. Many people are neglecting to follow the proper, to take the proper actions. But if you insist, either through contract clauses, even training them, if that's necessary, then you're in a good position.
Thank you, Kostas. Stelios?
Michalis, today, only one refer to the value of people. Mr. Sismanidis. So, people are the weakest link of the whole chain. Okay, why? Because people operate the technology, and people, they have their own will, their own ideas, they try to bypass controls, etc. At Gaslog, we invest heavily on cybersecurity training. Apart from traditional phishing exercises, etc., we have a plan to shut down the systems, unannounced. Controlled, of course, but unannounced, in order to measure the response of people, mainly on shore, but sometimes on board, which is more difficult because we need further cooperation with different departments. So, for us, it's very important to be able to have a very solid training scheme and to measure the adherence to this program. Training, training, training. That's all. People are our friends in this journey. People on board, people on shore should be part of our attempts to secure our workplace.
I don't consider human the weakest link. I think it's because they are adaptable, the only adaptable, life.
There could be the weakest link, but also could be the first line of defense, always.
But
Exactly.
I agree with everything you say, yeah.
The most important link, I would say people are the most important link. They're above technology. And I would echo what Stelios said about training or practice, practice, practice. You can only learn something and do it better after you practice again and again. And I would also like to congratulate Kostas for the very frank approach about new buildings and the way the whole game is being played. It's not easy to touch these issues, but this is the reality. Cybersecurity, it's not the unfortunately the decisive factor when you go about choosing a shipyard or a vessel design. Cybersecurity is somewhere lower at the list of priorities. I don't know if there is a different.
Hopefully, so far, that will change.
Yeah, the fact that it's already on the table shows a fundamental shift. Yeah.
And what about people, Pavlos?
Not a lot to mention. As I said earlier, we're talking about technology, people, and processes. But I mean, you've got technology to prohibit stuff. You've got processes to be followed, but you can, bypass them. And at the end of the day, it's about people understanding. So informed decisions are based on good knowledge, solid knowledge. So as long as you train people, train them regularly, because cybersecurity is something that we're like a hamster. It never stops. You always have to run. You have to keep up with the evolution, the changes of the landscape, and all this kind of stuff. So as long as you keep people informed, then they will make more correct, let's say, decisions. So yes, I agree. And just to state, following up on what Stelios said, for the past 2.5 years, we started having cybersecurity exercises on board vessels with shutting down systems. And at first, the feedback that we received, the notion was that we're going to have a problem here. We shouldn't do that. And the feedback that we get from the ships, from the crew members, is absolutely positive. They really absolutely love the idea of having a real-time situation where they have to shut down their systems because they need to understand the implications. So a lot of things have a fundamental mindset shift, but at the end of the day, many things that we think that are not happening or they shouldn't be happening, actually they're to the benefit of the company and the people on board.
Yes, Mike, please.
Question, we're talking about OT systems as well. Do you want to share?
Not yet. Not yet.
But
let's take it one step at a time. That's what I'm saying.
We need to include, for me, OT systems as well.
Yeah.
Like,
Of course.
For sure.
an idea.
For sure.
Of course, easier said than done, but OT
Michalis,
systems.
we have a lot of questions from the audience, by the way. Yeah? They are all waiting to...
You need to give us a conference. Not a
I know. But there are some behind me that they are urged to ask already.
Okay. So I will move on with the rest of questions and leave
say
some
yes,
time.
I would say so, because
Yeah.
there are... I will give it to Mantas already.
We start the questions now. Okay, it's mainly for Michalis, Michael, but for everybody. I'm talking about cybersecurity notation. In my case, I use it as a tool, acting as an owner mainly and having two different operators for our vessels, to work towards, having a platform and a benchmark for cybersecurity, and it's mainly, of course, has to do with new buildings. How do you think? What do you think about cybersecurity notation? Is it useful? And the others, do you actually get this in your new buildings?
Are you referring only to new buildings or also ships in service?
I don't know any case of retro. If there is, it's even more interesting.
I would say about my perspective, I think that cybersecurity enhance also the reputation of the company. It's not only technical measures. For me, when it comes to any kind of regulation, I want to be first, and go beyond the regulation. Regulation in shipping provide us a seat on the table, which we didn't have. Mainly DPAs or QA or technical department worked with cybersecurity, but this is not the case now, I think. After all, even that there is a convergence between IT and OT and there is a gap on responsibility there. I strongly believe that, the guys from cybersecurity needs to be on board on any kind of regulation. And for me, it's a matter of reputation. Yes, I want to take the notation not only for the new builds, but for the whole fleet of my company in order to assess myself and prove that I am on top. And guys, we have seen the budget of the vessels. I don't think that technology or cybersecurity can, let's say, enhance either the cost of the vessels. Actually, it's a very small portion of the budget. So this doesn't have to do with the budget. It's a matter of business decision, and it's a matter of the technology or the cybersecurity presence in the company. This is my perspective. Yes.
I have a slightly different opinion on that. I agree to a certain extent, but if you talk about big passenger vessels, it's a different story. They're complaining about overblown budgets because of cybersecurity. For them, it's a kind of a different story. So partially, yes. I do agree it's not a big investment, apart from the passengers.
Well, as you said, it is a benchmark. So having a measure on your performance, it's always a good practice. On the other hand, I'm not very sure because to apply notations, you must have a very, very solid working environment, especially on board a vessel. Don't know how many companies can put their hands on the fire that the vessel environment is very, very, has high discipline. And on the other hand, if not mistaken, cyber notations usually focus on the OT world. And the OT world is, let's be frankly, one of the well-designed and protected, at least so far, domains on a vessel. Because the seafarers, regardless the knowledge they have or the training they have, they know that the vessel depends on these systems. So they tend to be very cautious on how they handle them. So, and unless we go for the higher notation, because most companies are going for the basic. The basic, to me, doesn't present anything, at least for a decent company, not decent, bad word, at least for a company that has done the basic doesn't give much of a knowledge. If you go to the medium or the advanced, maybe then you get a benefit. But if you go for the basic, okay, do it yourself. Sorry, Mike.
Just a question from my side. When I was with ship owning and ship management companies, we were assigning 1% for communication on the budget of the vessel. What is the budget now for cybersecurity on ships? Or is there any?
Stelios?
Depends.
Yeah.
Yes, there is. I cannot tell you. If I tell you, I have to kill you. There is a very small percentage, but it is significant to what it was before. To answer to Matthew's question, we ran the exercise of cyber notation years ago on 3 vessels. They were sister vessels. And that was a very valuable experience because that helped us to build our cybersecurity plan for our vessels. But we did not continue the notation scheme because that requires specialization for the annual renewal. So we found that extremely difficult and partly costly to do that. There was no immediate commercial value to have that. But for us, 6 years ago, that was a great experience to do that, learn from different experts that implement, measure the systems, audit the systems, provide the notation, so it is worth it. No, other questions, Donis?
Okay, let's continue. Looking ahead, we have seen that many cutting-edge technologies are coming. And I'm talking about high-impact applications of artificial intelligence, especially in the maritime sector. We have seen many very good presentations on this. But are there any new risks emerge from these technologies?
Definitely.
And what the companies should prepare for?
What I see is that in the near future, because I see it already, as I said, both on an ISO level and on an EU level. So when I say ISO level, and globally. So what we see is it's not only AI, it's the convergence of technologies, because exactly what some of these technologies do is to manage the other technology. So you will ask me, what are you saying now? I'm saying that, for example, you decide to implement an AI system, and you have heard from many about data, and that you have massive data and too many data, too much data, and also you generate data as we speak, and also real-life data, from the oceans right now, via IoT devices. So the IoT devices gather this data. Then the IoT gives this data to a blockchain database. Many of you do not know that behind Bitcoin is some technology which is called blockchain, and with that technology we can secure our data in our databases. And you need to know this, because currently, and as we speak, Europe, especially Europe, but we see this globally anyways, we see Trump has done the same. So Europe is boosting blockchain and the rest of the technologies because Europe identified it. And I've heard Alexandrados in the morning, he said, overregulation, he said. Europe itself has identified that they have overregulated. So they are moving a little bit back now. So they came recently with the Omnibus Directive and decisions based on that actually yesterday affected the GDPR and the EU Data Act. Do you know what happened yesterday in Europe? Yesterday in Europe, they have decided that they are going back from the implementation of the EU AI Act in relation to certain rules. Do you know why? Because as we discussed, if you remember, Adonis, in the back, the other event we had in Cyprus last month, I said that during that event that EU has identified that they overregulated and that they are moving back a little bit. So now they did it yesterday with the GDPR and the EU AI Act. So you can Google it and you can find out more. But what they did is that now we don't have the required standards, and they said, it's okay, you can delay, go on, build systems. Why did they do that? Because they want to see systems. Because in Europe, we only use China systems and in the US systems. American systems and China systems. We need our own systems. And of course, when we discuss AI, as previous speakers said, it's not about generative AI. And if I use it in a shipping company, and as we discuss between us here and with others before, a shipping company could just issue a policy, internal policy, and say, my dear employees, you are not supposed to use this, and this system, generative AI system, in this company, period. And then you say, you have to use this and this and this, period. That is it, generative AI. But we are not discussing generative AI that helps us do our work. We are discussing setting, building, establishing our own systems from scratch. Therefore, we need this data. This data can live with trust, as you said, can live with immutability, with transparency on a blockchain database. So now what we see from all over, we see a number of projects from ports, from shipping companies, from shipping owners, from operators that reach the ISO lab, they submit the case, the country, the responsible entity submits a case, and then they say to us, please look at this case and come back with, review this case, what's wrong, what's good, what's bad, what I'm missing, what's the gaps, what's the flaws, what's the bugs, and then we have to follow and we have to review these cases because we lead the standards. What does this mean? I mean, when you get, for example, 27,000, 27,001, 27,002, from where is this born? We draft it because we have these committees and these working groups and we participate and then we draft the standards that you use. So I want to close with this. That don't be afraid. No, I mean my reply. Don't be afraid of the NIS2. Don't be afraid. I mean, just approach it in a friendly way. Alexandrados said about overregulation. I understand what he said. We have overregulated. But regarding NIS2, it is a really good one if you do what? You are giving it to your traditional lawyers who doesn't understand cybersecurity, and then you want them to interpret it. If one approaches NIS2 and interprets it in the right way, and you balance the risks, and you take one by one the provisions, it's not so hard for you to implement it, only you don't know it because you don't approach the proper experts to explain to you. So NIS, if implemented, is really a state-of-art cybersecurity framework that will enable you to be resilient.
It's based on the ISO.
And yes, and so many. And regarding the CISO, we had this question, the other day. The CISO's liability. Again, this is a legal issue. Many CISOs will like, oh my God, what is going to happen? Am I going to go to jail? Am I going to pay big fines? NIS2, first of all, CISOs in this room, you need to remember that it's not your fault if any incident happens, any hacking or any incident happens, first of all, it's the senior management. It's a board.
It's always, I think.
It's the board. Then allow me. I remember about the case in the US and what happened. That was not a case that the CISO got a punishment because of cybersecurity requirements, laws, regulations from within a framework. That is not strict liability, as we call it. It comes from other things, like CISO didn't follow the instructions. And if this is documented, then CISO will have problem. CISO acted in bad faith. If this can be proved, CISO is personally liable. CISO has done a gross negligence. In this case, yes, will be fined, will be punished as per the jurisdiction, according what the jurisdiction says, under the civil liability rules. But CISO's responsibilities and liabilities from within the NIS2 is not what you think. It's not that much. So CISOs need to gather all of and keep and preserve all the needed information to prove. I mean, if you got a bad instruction, keep the information. But the last thing I want to share, I promise, last thing, is CISOs have contracts, guys. CISOs have contracts. You have to visit the contracts. It's not the NIS2. Contractual freedom. If you do not breach anything that strictly is provided by NIS2, then you are allowed to provide anything in your contracts. Therefore, do it for you. You have disclaimers. You have limitations of liability. You have indemnities in contracts. Force majeure, use them. Thank you.
Mike?
If we have any time left,
with Christiana, no.
I'll share to a big extent her views. But we have, four gentlemen here representing big companies, and I believe NIS2, it's only one part of their tool set and of the regulations that they have to follow. If they follow NIS2, I believe they're not covered. That's my opinion. It's only part of their game. I would like to hear, if you have any time, their view.
It's not only NIS2.
It's only a small part of their job.
For my perspective, it's based on ISO, so every company that is being directed to this journey is okay, and of course it's based on the segregation of roles, so it's introducing CISO, which is something new, and of course it focuses on incident management, which is this is very, very important.
But you're operating globally, eh?
Yeah, of course.
And you go and have port state controls, you have vessels. What do you do there? You say I have CISO, I followed NIS2, I'm covered, I'm US Coast Guard.
You need to go beyond always. I think this is my personal approach. But let's return back to AI and relevant risks, because from AI we went to NIS. What have you seen now? What your company needs to be prepared for this technology that is coming, and of course it will be adopted.
It's not coming, it's already here. It's been here. So we've been having these discussions inside. So with the hat of the information security officer, so seeing that not from the operational perspective and the value that it brings, there are inherent risks. Always, when we're talking about new opportunities, we're talking about new risks. So if I was to depict it in a plain sentence, I'd say that in standard, let's say, information technology, standard input provides standard output. So you know the black box, what it's doing. Now with AI, we're talking about standard input producing variable output, which makes the black box very important. Okay, so we need to understand who owns the box. What are the in and outs? Who's got the processing power? What are the bias behind it? In terms of privacy, which is something that we've not tackled, but in terms of information security, it's very critical. And because of the fact that we're talking about EU and the GDPR, privacy is a very subtle matter in Europe especially. I'm personally in favor of that. I do believe that privacy is a very, very important topic, and it's not tackled very greatly, let's say. And in terms of AI especially, privacy, both for the persons as well as corporate information, is something that needs to be really, really taken under consideration. Everyone's, we're hearing about buzzwords, we're talking about new technologies, the value they provide, doing things, repeated tasks done in an easier way, and all this kind of stuff. But at the background, there are a lot of processes that need to be tackled. Who has access to the data? Who are perhaps, contractors or subcontractors of the data? What kind of processing is performed? And, ownership for me is a very, very important topic.
Thank you. Stelios?
AI is like the wind. Okay? The wind is very powerful, that can help you accelerate your digital transformation plan. But if you do not manage it wisely, it can become a storm and destroy everything. So I'm not very concerned about privacy in AI. In CP companies, privacy is very vague. What is private, what is confidential, etc. I'm very concerned about using AI, relying on AI too much, in a point that we will lose human intelligence, we will lose seamanship in the medium, long term. Okay? Apart from that, we see AI being used for massive cyber attacks. Again, if you have the appropriate controls in place, it's just another form of attack. This is the way I see it. Maybe very naive, but this is the way today I see it.
Thank you. Kostas?
Because you talked about emerging technology, of course, every emerging technology brings new risks. There are technologies and risks that any professional having the proper training and education can understand, the typical IT risks. But unfortunately, AI is extremely revolutionary technology or concept with risks that I'm not sure how many can really understand. And there are hundreds of risks that can arise from AI, and I don't know how many professionals are able to understand, including myself. Okay, we're talking how many, first of all, many people have a misconception of what AI is. Okay, AI, it's two words, artificial intelligence, but what does AI means? Gen AI, data mining, machine learning, deep learning, decision making, what do we talking about? If we don't clarify all these things, we will have unknown risks at every step we take. So, yes, it's a powerful tool. Yes, it has powerful risks, but we have to understand it. We're moving forward, even every organization is moving forward to AI journey, and many times we don't know where are we going. What do we try to achieve? What is our target?
So let's wrap up. Okay, let's try to close with one suggestion for all these guys that are here and want to go throughout this journey of cybersecurity. Based on your experience, what is your suggestion related with the approach? Where they need to focus?
Reflection, resilience, nothing else. Just try to understand what is surrounding you. Nothing else. Endless journey.
In my view, is training, education and training, and then the ability to break down what we are trained about and educated to smaller tasks to simplify things. This is my opinion. We should be doing this. I mean, within these are many things we can do, like what I said before about revisiting all of your contracts. We have to revisit all of the contracts that you have in place.
Very nice.
This is a good one.
Michali, we have new tools at hand now that we can use to better safeguard our systems. We have the experience, the knowledge, the capability to do that wisely and move forward, and also provide the confidence, the appropriate confidence to all stakeholders that we are doing our best for maintaining what Kostas said, resiliency.
Thank you. Mike.
Embrace AI, that's the new reality. Have a good lawyer with you.
Thank you.
Nice one.
Nice one. This is a good one.
That's a good one.
We've heard some really good things.
I'll go with Michalis. I mean, embrace technologies. At the back of your mind, think before you click. So try to understand what you're doing. I mean, in terms of corporate environments, it's our job for people to understand through all the measures that we said. But at the end of the day, it's about the human perspective, at least for me. So educated people will use technology to their benefit and to the best way possible in order to do their work, provide value, while at the same time being secure.
Yeah, and remember, convergence will win. What this means, convergence of technologies, not just the AI alone. Convergence means IoT receives the data, takes them to the database, and the database is connected to a blockchain system. Then this data go to the AI for analysis, and this is a circle. So this is how we do it properly. Thank you.
My perspective is to have...
Let's hear Michalis' perspective.
I think that my perspective is to have a collective mindset, to have friends with deep experience, and to add one more friend
Thank you.
from
Thank
other
you from heart.
spectrums, and have a collective mindset in cybersecurity. There's not expertise. I think that we try to grow together, and this mindset will lead you to success. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Grazie Michali. Πας Michali. Είναι δυνατόν Michali χωρίς φωτογραφία.
I don't want to be in the same family with you.
You don't, because I'm a lawyer.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
Okay, let's...